people who have physical locations.
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, are you allowed to like post to things, just like rate us on Google, or like put a
Yeah,
link up to it and things like that?
yeah, that's encouraged, especially in a location. Maybe at the cash register or something, you could put something small. If you have a receipt that goes out via email, that's a really good way. If you collect customer emails, every once in a while, just sending a blast out and saying like, "Hey, thank you for visiting us. We're doing a review campaign or something." Just try to encourage those customers who had a positive interaction. The closer you can do it to the sale or the experience, the better that's going to be. If it's going to be, later on a month or so down the road, people are a little less likely to remember the details or the nuances that would, make a listing really look nice. But, on this slide, you can see they have a product offer, save 10%. They're posting some pictures on there. And this looks a lot more like a social media than you would think. And that's because that's what Google sees it as. And if all of these purchase decisions are starting at Google, I would spend less time on Facebook, less time on Twitter, less time worried about social media, because a lot of those are pay to play. You might have 10,000 fans on Facebook, and if you want to post to them, you have to pay to reach them. Unless you're creating really unique posts that generate a lot of organic traffic, then you're better off using these Google tools, because that's where you're going to get this organic reach, which is that really important one. So Zach, does that kind of answer your question a little bit on that?
It does. And I've also noticed sometimes when I go to a business, maybe, some hours later, I'll get prompted on my phone, "Hey, we saw you were here. What do you think about it? You want to rate it?" How is that something we can ask Google to send out, or how does that work?
You can't really ask Google to send that out. That's based on if someone might have Google Maps and the notifications installed on their phone, and that's going to be on their personal kind of preference. They're also more likely to do that to people who do leave a lot of reviews. Like myself, if I leave positive reviews, a lot of places, like especially my customers, you get rated as like a local guide, and then you're more likely to get encouraged to post these. You can see here more data from Ipsos. 90% of customers are more likely to visit a business that has photos on the search results page. And the easiest way to get photos on the search result page, Google My Business. Add products, add services, and there's a free website. If you don't have a website at all, you can use this to build a website. My grandparents run a rural hunting and dog supply store on 264. They get about 4,000 views a month on their page, and my business in Greenville sometimes only gets like 1,000. And they have the app downloaded on their phone now, and they post pictures when they get new products in. And that's the kind of success story. Their sales were down 3 years ago, a small hunting shop, 100,000 revenue range, something kind of like that. They went up to 120, they went up to 130, and now, they'll easily crack 150. Just about a 60-year-old business, 20 minutes outside of Greenville in a 400 square foot shop is getting 4,000 views and has increased their business by 50% in a couple year period. Is the power of marketing like this, because otherwise you get drowned out.
I've got a question for you. I do have a Google business, but I get phone calls saying that my Google listing is not, I don't know. I get calls constantly, and I tell them I am listed, I am on the map. Is that just stuff that they're calling people, or is it I'm missing something?
No, more than likely that's spam. So what they'll do is they will set up your Google My Business listing, but they'll charge you a fee to do it, but you can do it for free. So Google's way too busy to be calling people all day.
That's what I thought, but I get calls constantly, and I'm like, I already have it. I'm already on there.
Yeah, you're 100% right. That,
Is there I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is there maybe not a class, but I know you're going through this today, but do you teach anything off the side there or to help walk us through all this processing?
Yeah. So my business is clickfirm.com, and
I'm sorry,
it's clickfirm.com. But
click, okay,
what we can do with this is send you this PowerPoint, which gives you step-by-step instructions.
okay,
And that, any of this, I would, more than likely just help you out, any of you guys out for free and point you in the right direction.
thank you.
And yeah, so this is, I can't really manage or Google My Business for you or set it up for you.
Right,
We have a tool through Google to fix mistakes or to, request special help if there's a weird situation going on.
yeah,
But as far as that is really something you have to come to learn in your own and incorporate it into your day-to-day business operations. Yeah.
hold on, I'm getting ready to move to another location. The glare is horrible. Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, that'd be great. Just kind of some kind of format. I am zero, not the sharpest knife in the drawer on this kind of thing. And it could mess it up easily. So yeah, to have your notes would be fabulous to be able to guide us
Yeah.
through it.
Something I encourage too with this is that I see a lot of people either not doing something out of fear of messing something up, kind of like you mentioned. I have rarely seen someone, it's very intuitive. Like it says, what's your business aim? You fill it in and there's a next. So don't be afraid to jump in. And then if, for some reason it's acting real weird, you can reach out, say like, hey, it says that I sell horses and I sell dogs and I don't know how that happened. You can change it pretty easily.
Okay.
That kind of thing. So
I used to Google My Business, and what I like about it is at the beginning of each month or the end of the month, it sends me a breakdown how many people searched us, how many people asked for directions, and how many people called the market.
yeah,
That's one thing I like about it. It kind of tracks things for you.
Is it
yeah,
just,
that's a good point.
excuse me, gosh, I've got zero manners today. Excuse me.
Welcome to the club.
Oh my God. So it is Google My Business and that's
Yeah.
it? Or no?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can search for Google My Business and it'll bring you to a page,
Okay.
or you can type in google.com/business and that'll bring you to the sign up page.
Now, Warren, isn't it true that cheddar cheese straws are not allowed on Google My Business? Is that correct?
I think you're correct.
Yeah.
That
thought
may
so.
not be allowed.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
yeah. It's illegal. Okay, got it.
I'll just stick a bottle of wine beside it, see how
Yeah.
it functions that way.
I don't know. We might have to go for moonshine. What do you think, Warren?
Moonshine. I'm
Yeah.
all about some moonshine now.
Yeah,
There's probably some loopholes there.
yeah.
So kind of wrapping up the Google My Business thing, quick 15 minutes there. I strongly encourage you to use that. As a digital kind of marketing person, a lot of the businesses I work with, the revenues are in the $100+ million a year range, and they don't want to hear about Google My Business. They want to have pay someone $5,000 a month or something to paste on their Facebook. And I'm, hey, here's this free tool that your store manager could post on every day that over 10,000 people would see. And, and that's how you can beat companies like that, because like PetSmart, no one in the store is going to go bother to update their stuff. But if you are a local, animal supply store or something, you might could beat PetSmart. And I've seen, this next thing we'll get into SEO, but I have clients like World Cat Boats, for example, who, a really popular boat, but was not ranking on the first page for a lot of things. A former Accelerate Rule member, Taylor Walden with Simple and Sentimental. She has a Tumblr product and, you know, was having to pay for all of her ads and ended up organically ranking higher than the manufacturer of the tumbler. And so that, you know, in the whole nation. So you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands of leads coming in for free. My business partner down here in Washington, where we sell truck toolboxes on the internet, ranking now #1 above CamLocker and some of the biggest brands in the world. And it's not rocket science. It's about being smart with what you're doing, being organized, having a little bit of effort, you know, doing things aren't necessarily fun or fancy or your friends are going to see, like writing a blog post. You know, another comparison is that I see businesses that'll pay $400 a month for radio ads or something. And if you ever heard anyone advertise on the radio, ask them, how much do you sell from advertising on the radio? Their answer 100% of the time is going to be, I don't know. They're going to say, my friend organized and I saw it. They'll say, you know, well, my friend heard it or whatever, or like we were at the baseball game and people heard the radio ad. You know, my comment is like, well, they would have bought from you anyway. So like what, you know, when you could have spent $400 on, you know, having some articles on your website, improving that and whatnot, and you'd be able to see those results, which is what I think Chris commented earlier, is you'll say, hey, I got 30 phone calls this month, you know. Cool. So I was going to jump into here onto some stuff about websites recommended by Google, some information provided from them. Is there anything kind of off the bat though that you guys want to know about for websites that I can maybe answer hopping around on this?
Warren, what was your email again, or Dennis, will you?
Yeah, I'll get it to everybody. Don't worry. Don't sweat it.
Okay. I'm just so slow with dyslexia. I feel like I can't keep up when I have to write something down.
Well, this is recorded. So for you, Jenny, we have a session scheduled where we'll play the video 10 times back to back.
That I might
In
get
slow
it
motion.
the 12th time.
Yeah, in slow motion,
Yeah.
It'll be very slow.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank
One
you.
thing I think that the many on here are thinking, you know, is there anything they can do from a technical perspective to optimize their website to take advantage of these things that you're talking about?
Yeah. So to take a kind of a step back before answering that question, and is that people say, I want to rank better on the search engine, right? And your thought process or your premise within that is that you would like to be seen on the search engine when someone's looking for your product. All right, well, if you search for anything nowadays, something that you're going to see at the top is you're going to see ads, right? So you can do Google Ads to get up at the top. Then you're going to see maps. You're going to see Google My Business. You're going to see images. You might see a layer of YouTube videos. So if your desire is to be ranked on Google or to be seen, if that's what's important to you, if that's what's driving this kind of desire to have your website rank higher, well, if you made a YouTube video, that would rank higher than your website no matter what, because they put YouTube videos ahead of websites. They put Google My Business and they put maps ahead of websites. So that was kind of like, you know, why I spent a lot of time talking about the Google My Business, is that getting caught up in the technical parts of ranking your website higher are sometimes not as important as taking advantage of the other features on Google to be seen, because ultimately that's what you want to happen. Especially with mobile, you know, more than 60% of traffic is mobile now on Google. And with that, they've prioritized websites that are built for mobile. So an older website, when you're sitting in your office and you're looking at it on your computer, on your big desktop, and it looks beautiful, you know, take a step back and look at your website from your phone when you're, you know, at the beach 100 miles from your office and see what comes up. Those are the sort of tests you should be running, you know, on a day-to-day business to find out about your website. So
One of the things that we'll talk about, I haven't talked about in class, I think I may have sent a couple of links. The Google SpeedRank tool, which shows you how fast your website loads both on mobile and on desktop, is real helpful. And I'll share that with the group here in the near future.
yeah, that's a really good point. So technically, to answer that quickly, Google cares about speed and Google cares about information and usability. So if your website is fast, and to find out if your website is fast, you can go to Google Page Speed Score, and it's going to give you a number. If your number on mobile is below about a 30, you're at a severe disadvantage of ranking anywhere. If you can get it to rank in the 60 or 70, you're doing a good job. If on desktop, you can get it to rank 80 or 90, you're head and shoulders above probably every one of your competitors. And there's some other technical things if you want to write down. There's one called gtmetrics.com. If you're technical and you're the one doing your website, you can put your domain in there and it will tell you exactly what's holding up your website from loading. It gives you what's called a waterfall chart, and it shows you each asset as it loads and how long that's taking. And from there, you can prioritize what's important or what images you may need to compress, whether or not you need to use something like a CDN. There's a tool called Cloudflare that's free that you can put your website on that will make it faster. But again, if you're worried about page speed and you go to Google and you search for what your business delivers, say you do your plumbing or something, and you're not on the maps or whatever, you're wasting your time. And Google's making a lot of changes in that. I don't think anyone here is in like the service industry stuff, but they've replaced Angie's List and a lot of other things where you can actually submit your insurance and you could submit your license for construction or any other thing like roofing, HVAC, any service type provider. And it's called Google Guaranteed, and they've replaced about half the homepage with a listing of people that have qualified as Google Guaranteed. So all those businesses, they could operate without a website. A website is important, but it's not as important as a lot of the other things you could be doing. So that was a lot on the speed stuff. The other three pillars is thinking of your website as being having answers to questions. People go to Google with a question, where do I buy pants? What is the best, truck toolbox? What is the best car for 2021? They have a question, where can I buy this near me? Where can I buy honey near me? What are the best cheese sticks, as our example was earlier? And your website has to have that answer. It has to say, hey, these are the best cheese sticks in North Carolina. Or it has to say, think of having that content on there saying like, I'm looking for an all natural vegan chocolate bar. Well, that content has to be on the website, or you have to have relevant content relating to that user. So to use Taylor as a good example, for her page that ranks higher than the Hopsulator, it's a big line of products, higher than the manufacturer in the nation. She put together a blog post that had 10 best custom BrewMate Hopsulators. And she put 10 pictures and 3 or 4 sentences under each picture and a little bulleted list. And that started getting ranked by Google on the first homepage across the nation. And it actually pulled out her bulleted list from her website and just started delivering that as the top of the homepage. So it's almost in Google's best interest to not send people to your website because they lose control of the user. So formatting this information and having it on your site in a way that Google can pull it and show it is very valuable.
So if you have text on a picture, it will pull it from that, or
yeah. So
you have to have some physical text in your on your website.
Yeah, well, yeah, a text is an absolute must, but information as far as like like a blog would have to be about, 1,000 words.
Okay.
And it could be broken up into like a bulleted list, or it could be broken up into pictures with descriptions under them. And that information gives Google a lot of context clues as to what your website's all about. So if you're in the specialty business, you have to do that. And to find out kind of where you rank, you would connect to Google Analytics, which is another free tool by Google. And many people who run websites have analytics already installed. But that's a good way to go to get a base level of data that you could then use to improve upon. And then if you really got into it, you would come to a company like us or sign up for some sort of SEO reporting. And we would say, you rank number 15 for divorce lawyer in Greenville. You really need to get on the homepage. And to do that, we should produce a lot of content about divorce law in North Carolina. And by doing so, Google is going to realize that you're providing the users of Google with valuable information and that they're going to reward you for that.
Hey Warren, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with what you're talking about in terms of making sure that we're writing content for Google to find. But my question was, how many SEO driven, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but how many SEO driven posts do you recommend that we have specifically for our blog? I mean, I feel like I've heard like different things. Some people are like, you could never have enough, but what would you recommend in terms of like writing content that Google can find that matters to bring more people to the site?
Yeah, I think the premise of that is you're right. There isn't really a good answer on how many you should have, but how regularly. So I encourage people to say, if you can do 4 in a month, that you're really doing it, because most business owners, when there's only, you're trying to run your business yourself and you don't have someone writing for you, it's really hard to put aside the time to do that. And the ways that make that easier is by making like a bulleted list, or putting together a couple pictures with descriptions under it. Or even a little trick I use for some people is to make a video talking about something for about 10 minutes and then use the transcript from the video as your blog. So then, I personally don't really like writing a lot, but I could talk about ads forever. So I would make videos about ads and then basically take the transcript and kind of break it up and reformat it. And that's a lot easier for some people than, having to write that every week. But, maybe it's 1 a month, maybe you start with that. But it needs to be high quality and shouldn't be copied and pasted from somewhere else. You can kind of find a blog that you like and then pre-format it, but you really have to reformat it. It's, see the true benefits, because otherwise Google's going to kind of say like, hey, I've seen this before. This isn't really providing anyone any value.
Right.
And here kind of on this slide from Google, understand your customers, how they act, how they think, how are they living, define that audience, think of the information that's relevant to them. And, and that's a really good point to think about that, because I had a customer, he was a private investigator, and he came to me and was all excited to start writing blogs about his business. And he said, I'm going to write blogs about nutrition for when you're out in the field, doing your private investigating. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a really cool blog for you to write, but what are you, that doesn't help your customers, does it? Like, you should write how to, how to find out if someone's stealing your corporate data, that's it. That's helpful. Someone's going to go online and say like, how do I find out if someone's, stealing our stuff or working for our competitor? That's a much more helpful article than what he eats on the night of a stakeout, Any more questions kind of about SEO and stuff? I know it's kind of quick, but it's pretty straightforward. I just encourage everyone to, monitor it if you can to get some sort of tracking. A lot of the cheap software is like the $30 a month SEO things you sign up for aren't really gonna help you a whole lot. So just kind of look around, see if you can use a free tool, look at Google Analytics. And then the other really good tool for that is called Google Search Console. So Google's sort of technical answer to search rankings is called Google Search Console. So you can sign up for that, enter your website, and it will send you data telling you whether there's issues with them crawling your website, whether there's issues with pages, images aren't loading, and that by correcting all of those issues on Google Search Console, it's going to help you out. And it also, after time, it's not immediately, will provide you some base level of data of words that your site is ranking for. It's not as advanced as analytics, but it's something that I would encourage everyone to sign up for just for sort of monitoring.
Hey, Warren, I have one more question. Sorry, I have all the questions. Okay, so when you're talking about words, I have had this conversation with a couple of people. They're like, well, what are the keywords that you're going for? I have searched like with Google Trends, like what words are trending in my category. But one of the things that I feel like I struggle with that is like, okay, so how do I narrow down, like, this is what I'm going after, period, even though it may take me a while to even hit any type of rankings for it.
Yeah.
I do know with my previous experience that like people pay a lot of money to get on those homepages, right? And so
Yeah.
I know maybe I could use my resources and just write and try to, take another strategy. But what would you recommend in terms of like pinning down keywords to go for? Do we base it on the market? Do we kind of think outside of the box? Like what?
Yeah. What's your business?
Yeah, so we're a pasture-based farm. So we raise grass-fed meat, and we're a regenerative farm. So with that being said, I feel like grass-fed beef, it's like a really popular one, but everyone's after that. And I've even looked at like, okay, for clicks, like I haven't gotten into Google Ads because of the cost.
Yeah.
And so I've been skeptical to say like, man, and also because I used to work for companies who spent thousands of dollars on SEO.
Yeah.
And I was just the person that was like, okay, just get it done. But, so I'm like, I'm not about to spend $3,000 a month. I get it. So
yeah,
I'm trying to be smart in that.
That's the best way to do it. And my opinion on that is to not overcomplicate it. Like, and this isn't really helpful, but you just said your keyword. We sell grass-fed beef. Like, just you're writing articles that are like, what's the healthiest meat? Meat trends 2020, like best gifts for men. Like, I mean, there's like a lot of avenues that you basically, the title is varying. It, you're providing information for different customers, but within that, you're saying like, grass-fed beef, or like, how is grass-fed, grass-finished beef raised? How is, you're using that kind of that same word, or where to buy it. Like, we encourage you to shop for grass-fed beef here. And if you're selling those products online, it may be something that you should do some outreach on, because that's going to be kind of hard to rank for organically without a really strong effort, like you mentioned. But I would focus on like 3 keywords. Like, if you were to rank number 1 for one keyword, it would totally change your business. So don't get too hamstrung, I guess, is in trying to find 20 or 30 keywords. And there's kind of 100 ways to say grass-fed beef in a sentence. Like, you could say like, we encourage you when you're like shopping for grass-fed beef, or like, the portions you buy grass-fed beef in, and you're kind of putting these words around it that are like buy, shop, for sale, highest quality, like to find the highest quality grass-fed beef. That's your long tail keyword, high quality grass-fed beef. That's a, farm to, farm to table beef for restaurants, or like, that you're using that one keyword and you're putting all kinds of stuff around it, and that should come organically in the content you're producing. If you're having to force it, then the content's probably, you know, a little off. Does that help?
Yeah, no, it does help. I think, like I'm trying to figure out using the point of difference that we
Yeah,
bring to the table in light of like what we're doing. And because grass fed is so just it's not oversaturated.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to like use strategy in that as well to kind of stand out a little bit. So
Yeah, and maybe from a business perspective, use your whole everything you have going on. You know, just kind of outside of the little scope of this is that I would say like, hey, you know, yeah, if you and your family are doing this stuff, well, on YouTube, there's Thomas DeLauer. There's a guy who only recommends grass-fed, grass-finished beef when people are shopping for their diets and stuff. Is emailing some of these people and saying like, hey, could I, you know, show you a video, send you some content of our farm, send you you know, some information and get featured on some of these other blogs or some of these other things, because that's the other kind of the third link to S search engine organization is backlinks and your placement in the web. And so the way you go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I'm glad you're touching on this because I've been wanting to ask so many questions about backlinks
Yeah,
and like how to make partnerships with people to get that going.
yeah,
Because I know that it's needed. So anyway, I'll let you finish. I'm not gonna keep
yeah.
you.
No, you're that's an important thing, and it's one of the more difficult things. Like Taylor, she couldn't get backlinks because a lot of the websites that she was writing, you know, articles about, she's competing with them. And you know, they might have other vendors that they didn't want to rank her. So she got like 0 backlinks, but she wrote high quality articles and outranked the manufacturer. So you can do it without backlinks. But if you do get backlinks, you're going to significantly at a more rapid pace increase where you rank within the web. Because the simple way to explain it is, you know, they use this term web. Like, why do they kind of say that? You know, there's a lot of kind of origin stories, but I use it as where is your placement in the web? Like, if you're here and your web connects to this other site about healthy eating, Google goes, okay, this website, they have healthy foods on their website. This is about healthy eating as well. Now, the only way for them to know that your site relates to the healthy eating is by that backlink. Either them having a link to your website in an article saying, hear this story about this wonderful pasture raised farm, you know, in North Carolina. And, you know, and when they have that link to your site and Google's crawling their site, they go, oh, they're best friends with this one. And you know, who else are you best friends with? If all the links to your site are trash, they're from like Hostess or something, then they're going, oh, they sell junk food. You know, when someone's typing healthy grass-fed beef, they're not going to rank for that because they don't, you know, no one thinks they're about that. And that's the only way the Google website crawlers can find out what you're about is who you associate yourself with on the web as a website, because it's basically its own personality.
So would you recommend, and I know hopefully y'all aren't annoyed that I'm saying all this. They're talking this long.
Questions are great.
I know there's a number of farms in this group, and I feel like this is collaborative, so we can help one another. I know there are organizations where you can pay to be listed. Sometimes it's $100, sometimes it's 20. I mean, would you say that it should be a goal to try to, like you said, partner with these people that have, you know, we're friends with in order to get more visibility? Or would you recommend, like, because I've also seen strategies where like you have a contest and or you partner with a local school or a local something just in order to get more visibility, right? Because they'll list your website. And that's another way that you can get more traffic to you. Like, what would you kind of recommend to go about?
I shy away from the pay to play things on that, just because you're, you know, if you're going to pay $100 a month or something, you might as well run Google ads or do something else. And you can do, you know, I would rather you spend that money on a higher quality SEO tracking software and really start seeing like where you stand. And we can list websites on our software as well, you know, for a small like monthly fee or something. But getting featured and taking that effort to say, let's email 10, you know, go search your products, go see who's already on the homepage, what you'll find is that it's probably going to be blogs and recipes, and it's going to be like these websites that are looking for content, and you can email their editor and say like, hey, if we wrote a blog about, you know, whatever, would you feature it? Or, you know, because you're providing value to them with that. And then at the end of the article, they'll put a backlink to your website. And that's very difficult. Like I said, Taylor was unable to do it because she, you know, and it wasn't for lack of effort. I mean, I think she emailed like hundreds of websites. It was just that in her business, the engagement gifts and stuff, you know, it's not, there's no real kind of you know, there's some backstory, but there isn't really anything other than like, look at our products within the content. So she just had to make that good content on her own. Yeah. So the farming thing's difficult, but you can outreach, you know, like, you know, she's launching a new site, Man Gifts or something. Like, could she put in like a gift card for like, you know, someone orders a gift for their boyfriend and it comes with like $100 worth of beef in the thing. Like, that's kind of cool. You know, so outreach on those kind of things, I think from a sales perspective, I would be highly motivated to do that and find out where people are purchasing these products and find some partnerships there.
Yeah, I have a question about the Google Analytics. You've mentioned it a couple of times, and you know, I have it loaded on my site, but it's for somebody that's not trained in that, there's a lot of information there. And is there some place you like recommend to go? It's just like sort of a crash course of here's the top 5 things or top 10 things we need to be looking at versus, you know, because I mean, you know how it is, you can keep digging and digging and digging. And, you know, one of the things I look for is to see like, what's the duration of somebody staying on my homepage, you know, or how many pages are they going to? And it kind of seems that depends where I dig into the site, I get different answers, and I don't know what all that stuff means necessarily.
Yeah, Google Analytics is very tricky. They've tried to make it better for resources. Google provides some videos and some training. There's even like you could do, Google does like a free little certification thing on it. And if it was important, you know, if that was super important to you, you could kind of guide. It's not hard. It's like a walkthrough course. Like, you know, it's not even ABCD. It's like pick which one of these, you know. It's take something like that or watch YouTube videos. Just go on YouTube and search like 5 most important things on Google Analytics. But, you know, seeing everyone, that's a tool. It's Google Analytics is not going to improve your website. Analytics is not going to make it better. If anything, arguably, like, you know, you're feeding some stuff to Google, but like I have customers that, you know, we don't, you know, unless we're working on something specific, like we're trying to increase their, like you said, maybe conversion rate or their viewer duration, we're using analytics as a tool, not something to get in and get caught up in. And you can make a successful website without having it. I think there's something kind of behind the scenes to having it hooked up where it might feed Google a little bit more information than a site that's not using analytics. So I think having it hooked up is very good for rankings, but I wouldn't get super caught up in it because unless you're going to make the major changes, the information that's there is not going to help you out a whole lot. Like it might give you some information on what to do, but you know, I try to keep it simple. What do you sell? Right? Content about it, put it on the site and just go from there. Like, you know, you don't even worry about looking at the reports, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, did we have any other questions kind of about like the SEO stuff? No on that? Cool. Well, I have some more information here in these slideshows, but I think a lot of you guys are up to date on some of this. I mean, 46% of people wouldn't purchase if their mobile experience wasn't, you know, there. So, I mean, that's half, you know. So having a mobile website's important, and you could use Shopify, if you're selling things, I encourage people to use like Squarespace. Probably wouldn't use Wix. I don't really like that, or GoDaddy. But as far as your website, you don't reinvent the wheel. Just try to use something that's easy, that has some pictures on it, and go from there.
Hey, Warren, have you been exposed much to live streaming e-commerce where people are selling stuff on live streams? Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I've seen that, but you have to have the traffic to really do it. You could live stream something on Facebook or live stream something on Instagram, but if you don't have you really need the following of those people to drive the traffic. And say you're going to do a live stream and you're going to spend, an hour sitting there, it could be cool, but like, could you spend an hour doing something else? I think that people have built some really cool businesses. I saw a story actually of a cheese shop in Italy where a guy had set up a webcam because his father liked selling stuff but didn't want to sell it on the internet. And he had just a webcam of his dad in the cheese shop all day, and people could go in there and say like, hey, what do you think of this cheese? And a guy would live stream sort of sell it. And it was a pretty cool thing. But that was a big effort. Like, they put in like, a lot of tools there. They had it constantly streaming on a website where people could go and pick out. They had all the products. I think there's some cool stuff being done there, but starting at the basics and not getting too hung up on like, hey, we're gonna sell a bunch of stuff on Instagram Live or something like that seems very difficult without 1 million followers.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, I think that's all the time for today. Warren, thank you for coming on. I don't know if you can make these slides available to the group in some way.
Yeah.
But that would be helpful. We'll post them on our Slack channel. And if are there any other questions? Anybody have any thoughts? And I'll be sure to share Warren's contact information so everybody can bother him.
Yeah, go for it.
But Warren's been doing this since he's 12 years old. He's only about 20 now, but he's been doing it a long
too
time.
much credit.
So he really knows this. He's been at it a long time, even though he is very young. And I encourage you all to reach out to him. As the need arises. He has the answers, and he's not looking just to spend all your money. He's looking to help you legitimately. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
learned a lot.
All right. Well,
All right, guys.
That's it for this week. And so we'll see everybody on Monday.
Thank you.